Throughout our long history on this planet, we humans have always had an obsession with reaching the top. We identified Mount Everest as the highest point on Earth. Thousands have managed to climb it, stand on top of the world, and take photos. But, here is the irony. While we were all looking up, there was another world right beneath our feet. A world totally unknown. A place much harder to reach than Everest, and fewer people have been there than have been to the moon. The Mariana Trench. The Mariana Trench is a massive V-shaped scar in the Earth's crust, located in the western Pacific Ocean, right near the Mariana Islands. The distance from the surface down to the bottom is nearly 7 miles. That is a terrifying number. To put it in perspective, if we took Mount Everest and drowned it inside this trench, the mountain would disappear completely, and there would still be over a mile of water above its peak. For decades, humanity believed it was impossible for the ocean to be that deep. We thought life couldn't exist in that crushing pressure and total darkness. But, the information that came out of that trench shattered everything we thought we knew. Welcome to Voyager's legacy. Before we dive in, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss our latest videos. The story begins in 1872. That was the year the British research ship, HMS Challenger, set sail. It was a 4-year expedition that covered nearly 70,000 miles, roughly a third of the distance to the moon. That number alone shows how serious the crew was about mapping the ocean. But back then, technology wasn't like it is today. No digital screens, no satellites scanning the seafloor. The system was manual, and it was brutal. The crew used incredibly long ropes with knots to mark the depth, and attached a heavy piece of metal to the end to drag it down. Their routine was simple. Every 140 miles, they would stop the ship, drop the iron weight, and let it pull the rope down. They'd watch it go, until it hit the bottom and the tension on the rope suddenly stopped. That's how they knew they hit the floor. Despite the simple tools, this specific voyage paved the way for one of the biggest discoveries in Earth science. The crew was measuring depths routinely until they reached a specific spot in the western Pacific. And there, the routine was broken. When the ship reached the waters near the Mariana Islands, the crew prepared to take a new measurement. They stopped the ship, threw the rope, and watched as it was pulled down. Usually, the rope would stop after a certain distance. But this time, it kept going, and going. Feet turned into hundreds of feet, then thousands. And the metal was still sinking. Imagine the shock of the crew watching the rope disappear into the abyss. It kept going until it hit 26,000 feet. Finally, the metal hit the bottom. At that time, no one imagined the ocean could be that deep. The discovery caused a frenzy in the scientific world. Questions rained down. What is this place? How did it form? Is it just a random hole, or something else? And the most important question, is there life down there? And if so, what does it look like? Are they normal fish, or mythical monsters built to survive that crushing pressure and darkness? Back then, there were no answers. They just recorded the number in history, proving that the ocean floor was definitely not flat. After that stunning discovery, the questions hung in the air for 75 years. We didn't go back until 1951. This time, a British research ship returned, but it was armed with advanced tools and sonar technology to map the floor. The results were shocking. The sonar revealed that the hole found years ago was actually part of a massive trench, a giant gash in the Earth's crust stretching 500 miles long and 43 miles wide. And even crazier, that 26,000-foot depth they measured before wasn't even the deepest point. The new scan showed that at the southern end of the trench, there was a hole within the hole, dropping another 10,000 feet. This is the deepest point on Earth. They named it Challenger Deep. Measurements confirmed we are talking about a depth of nearly 36,000 feet, or roughly 7 miles down. But despite the geography, one question remained unanswered. Is there life in that abyss? To answer that, we have to jump to 1958 with the Soviet ship, Vityaz. The Soviets entered the race hard. They were the first to provide a real glimpse of the biology down there. The ship revealed that living creatures existed at depths below 23,000 feet. This was a shock to the scientific community because everyone thought that depth was lethal. But the Vityaz proved that, besides bacteria, there were fish and strange creatures humans had never seen before. Monsters, big and small, evolved to survive where there is no light and pressure that shatters bones. This opened the floodgates for imagination. if life exists at 23,000 feet, what's stopping it from existing at 36,000 feet? And what is hiding in Challenger Deep? After seeing the data, the bold decision was made: humans need to go down there personally. You have to understand, reaching the deepest point on Earth is thousands of times harder than climbing Everest. The challenge isn't oxygen or cold, it's pressure. Any human at that depth faces pressure more than 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure on the surface. To visualize this, imagine a person standing there, with 50 jumbo jets stacked on top of them. That is the weight of the water down there. Despite this, in 1960, the first humans succeeded in landing in the trench. This was the expedition of the Trieste, a submarine built specifically to survive that hellish pressure. On board were two men who made history: Swiss engineer Jacques Picard and U.S. Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh. The trip down took 5 whole hours. 5 hours of sinking into total darkness until they hit the bottom at nearly 7 miles down. They only spent about 20 minutes on the floor. But it was enough to confirm, without a doubt, that life exists. They saw fish and strange creatures living as if the pressure and darkness were nothing. Confirming life was a huge scientific achievement. But there was a darker side to the story that didn't come out until years later. When the journals of Jacques Picard were revealed, they contained a strange and controversial detail. Picard wrote that in the middle of the dive, he looked out the viewport and saw something odd. He described it as a massive, cylindrical creature. And this thing wasn't just swimming randomly. It was following the Trieste. It circled them, watching them. It stayed for a few minutes and then vanished into the dark. To this day, no one knows what Picard saw. Was it a living creature, a natural phenomenon? This observation remains one of the biggest mysteries of the Mariana Trench. If you think Picard's mystery was creepy, wait until you hear what happened in 1985. The American ship, Glomar Challenger, was scanning the trench. Researchers lowered a sensor probe on thick steel cables. Everything was normal until the probe reached a significant depth. Suddenly, the team began picking up strange sounds on the audio sensors. At the exact same time, the steel cables started pulling violently. Something down there was yanking the wires so hard they were about to snap. We are talking about something with massive power at a depth of over 30,000 feet attacking the probe. The researchers tried to pull it up to save it, but a force was holding it down. After 3 hours of tug-of-war, they finally managed to winch it up. When the probe broke the surface, the team was in shock. The device had clear bite marks on it, as if it had been in the jaws of a giant beast. Even some of the steel cables were snapped. The question was, what kind of creature lives that deep, and has the power to bite through steel? Wait, although the official explanation said the probe hit some rocks, the crew who saw the bite marks knew that was just a cover-up. After the 1985 incident, and because many people didn't buy the rock theory, a wild hypothesis emerged. Some biologists suggested there is only one creature that matches that power and bite size: the megalodon. A giant, prehistoric shark, supposedly extinct. It grew up to 72 feet long, that's like a 7-story building, and weighed up to 50 tons. It is considered one of the most powerful predators to ever walk, or swim, on Earth. It supposedly went extinct 1.5 million years ago. But the events in the trench made some people ask, could the megalodon still be alive today, hiding in the deep? This theory was supported by another incident a few years later. A Japanese cargo ship sailing near the Mariana Trench was hit by a massive impact from the side. The hit was so violent it nearly capsized the ship. The weird thing? The weather was calm, and there were no reefs or rocks in that area. Investigations couldn't find a logical reason. This pointed fingers back to the deep, and the giant beast that snapped steel cables years before. Whether you believe in extinct monsters like the megalodon or think it's just fantasy, the undeniable truth is that there are strange sea animals down there. Creatures that withstand impossible pressure and eternal darkness. This was confirmed by the Japanese ROV Keiko, which explored the trench between 1995 and 2003, discovering over 350 new species. And in 2012, we went back. Filmmaker James Cameron completed the second manned mission to Challenger Deep, documenting his journey in the film _Deep Sea Challenge_. In the end, there is no doubt the world is full of wonders we will be discovering for thousands of years to come. And the Mariana Trench will remain one of the most fascinating places on Earth. And that's a wrap. Who made it this far? You guys are the legends. Smash that like button before you go so we know how many of you watched until the end. And if you have a suggestion for a future episode, let us know in the comments. Peace.